I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. This is the April 12th, 2016 meeting of the Hanson Board of Selectmen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Audit here. No, this is for the swearing in of the new police officer.
Okay. Public announcements and upcoming meetings. Open burning season will run until April 30th. Permits are available at the fire headquarters, 505 Liberty Street, daily from 9 to 5. The cost of a permit is $20, payable by check or money order, made out to the town of Hanson. No cash will be accepted. On April 13, 2016, the Hanson Community Preservation Committee, CPC, will be holding its annual public open forum meeting from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Hanson Town Hall. We will be highlighting some of the projects that the Hanson Community Preservation Act, CPA money funded in 2015, and we'll be discussing the CPC master plan that we are drafting in 2016. Please email us at cpchanson@gmail.com or visit our website at www.hansоncommunitypreservation.org. The fourth annual Epic Youth Battle of the Bands being held April 15th at 6:30 p.m. in the Whitman-Hanson Regional High School Performing Arts Center. Tickets are $10 each and will be sold at the door. If you are interested in participating in this event, please visit our website at www.panthereducationtrust.org for an application. Please contact lfitzkemet@gmail.com with any questions. The Recreation Commission will be holding the annual Camp Kewaunee Cleanup Day on Saturday, April 16th, 2016, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Volunteers are welcome. For more information, please call Nicole at 781-293-2333. Upcoming meetings. The final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee, Wednesday, April 13th, 4 p.m. at the police station. Board of Selectmen, Wednesday, April 13th, 6 p.m. Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, April 19th, 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, April 26th, 7 p.m. That's the town meeting preview. Board of Selectmen, Monday, May 2nd, 7 p.m. at the middle school. Town meeting, Monday, May 2nd, 7:30 p.m. at the middle school. Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, May 3rd, I'm assuming if that's necessary, 7 p.m. at the middle school. Town meeting, Tuesday, May 3rd, if necessary, 7:30 p.m. at the middle school. And that concludes our announcements of upcoming meetings. Our next scheduled item on the agenda will be the swearing in of police officers Derek Harrington and Benjamin Ford, and for that, I will turn to Chief Mix, please. A little preliminary.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Good evening. I wanted to take a few moments tonight to welcome our two newest police officers. They've spent the past, 6 months anyways, at the academy getting ready. They're two fine individuals, and I'm very glad to welcome them. The two newest police officers we have here in town are Derek Harrington and Benjamin Ford. Officer Harrington grew up in Whitman. He's a graduate of the Whitman-Hanson High School. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Bridgewater State University. I went to college there, but now it's a university. He started his career as a Hanson police public safety dispatcher. He was a part-time police officer for us. He was also an EMT, so he's covered all his bases except being a firefighter at this point. And he's also a graduate of the 61st ROC at Plymouth Police Academy this past March. Officer Ford grew up in Hanson. He's also a Whitman Hanson graduate. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Endicott College. He was a past intern at the Hanson Police Department, which I found interesting. He also interned at the Essex County Sheriff's Department. He also worked out on Martha's Vineyard for how long, Ben? About a year? So I'm not sure why he would leave an island for here, but he passed the psychological exam and all the other background checks, so we're good. We're thrilled to have both. It's great to see two local, homegrown young men come to join us. Both of these officers, as I mentioned, have strong ties to the community. One of the things in their interviews and their backgrounds that was impressive is both were involved with coaching or being involved with running the youth sports in the respective towns in either Whitman or Hanson. And that's very important. And it really stood out to me when I interviewed them. I'd like to welcome Officer Harrington and Officer Ford into our family here in Hanson. We should also welcome their families. If Officer Harrington could come to the front, please. And Officer Ford, why don't you come up front too? We're going to swear in Officer Harrington first. There you go. Yeah, and he's going to be pinned by his father, if we can welcome his father, Ken Harrington, and his girlfriend, Gabby Capobianchi. If you'd come up and join them, please. I practiced your name, Gabby. I don't know. It's tougher than mine.
Derek, could you please raise your right hand? Derek, do you, Derek R. Harrington, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as police officer to the best of your abilities in accordance with the bylaws of the town and the laws of the Commonwealth?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Couldn't make the whole, congratulations.
Officer Ford will be next to be sworn in. He's being joined by his father, excuse me, I should go first. His mother, Linda. Sorry, Mrs. Ford. Didn't mean to put him in front of you. His father, Donald. His sisters, Jenna and Brittany, and also his girlfriend, Jessica Kofsky. Jessica, I believe, is going to pin Ben.
You ready? Raise your right hand, please. And you, Adjournment, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as police officer to the best of your abilities in accordance with the bylaws of the town and the laws of the Commonwealth.
Yes, I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for giving us a few moments. The officers, welcome. Their families, thank you. And have a good evening.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, John.
I'd like to welcome these officers to the Hanson family of fine public servants. Thank you very much.
That's okay.
All right. Next on the agenda is the town administrator report, and for that I will turn to Mr. LaCamera.
Yeah, just one thing to report, because we're going to be talking about all the budgets and the warrant articles and so forth. The board had requested that we ask the representative from the cable access to come and talk to the board about the doing additional programming of meetings and so forth. So Steve Roy is going to be coming in that next meeting to talk to the board about what the options are. So if the
Okay.
board wants to think about that, then he'll be ready to go. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda in the new business, junk dealers license renewal, DMW Industries LLC, 1282 Main Street. This is a renewal. No problems with this one, Mary? All the
No, I checked with the police department, they're all set.
taxes
Haven't
are
had
all,
any issues.
taxes are all paid and everything? Okay. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the license renewal for DMW Industries LLC, 1282 Main Street.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? The next one is for King's Ransom, 156 Liberty Street. I'm assuming this one's fine as well, no problems.
Correct.
Okay. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the renewal of the junk dealer's license for King's Ransom, 156 Liberty Street.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Thank you. Old business. Finalize and sign the town meeting warrants. Okay. Which one do you want to start with, the special?
The annual's fine, Mr. Chairman.
Do we need to, which warrant is the article for the school override going in? Special or is it
Annual.
annual? All right, so there's nothing to add to the special?
Not for the school, no.
Okay.
Yep.
Are we just going through this, or are we just going to,
Well, we really don't have to go through the articles. I mean, it's entirely up to the board if you want to, ask the board members if there's any articles of concern that they want to address. And then on April 26th, we're going to have a detailed warrant review of the warrant itself. But if there's something specific that the board wants to address prior to approving the warrant, then I would suggest to ask any questions.
do any board members have anything they'd like to ask about any articles in the warrant, or any concerns that they have?
And all the hold ones, that's what's gonna be? Well, that's the question. Should we deal maybe just with the hold ones today, or not?
First of all, Mr. Chairman, because the override article, contingency article, and I know that the building committee, the Highway Building Committee wants to discuss an article as well, you have to open the warrant so we can place that article on the warrant too.
All right, so that's the special or the annual?
Annual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're working
I'll
on
make
this.
a motion to open the warrant.
I'll second.
And we're talking about special?
Annual, right?
Oh, the end.
Yeah, the annual.
Oh, the annual.
All right. Building committee, want to talk about that?
We need a vote.
What's that?
We have a motion. Do we vote to open it?
It's been made and seconded, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Which article is it
It is,
on the regular?
let's see,
What's the article?
Article 12 on the annual.
Okay.
Page 6.
We want to remove Article 12.
Page 6.
Make a motion, Bill, to remove Article 12 from the warrant.
They're gonna make a motion at this time to remove Article 12 from the warrant. Reasons being is that the building committee had been working diligently with the architects to formulate some numbers and what have you, and we haven't reached that point as yet. In addition to that, we understand that the property down on Hawks Avenue cannot be turned over to the town until late this year. The reason being is permitting that they have to do for their own finalized cleanup on the area that isn't related to the town, but they cannot transfer any of that property until they've complied with all of those permits, and that's, for that reason, we're asking to remove it from the warrant.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Anyone have a discussion on that?
So we think we're just gonna add it next in October?
Is there a possibility this can come back in October?
Would like to
Yes.
get it ready for
Absolutely.
the October town meeting if
Great. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to remove Article 12 from the warrant. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
Contingency.
Anything else on here you want to discuss?
Mr. Chairman, you have to put the override contingency article on the warrant as well.
Okay. So I need a motion to,
Bill, there's two sets of warrants there, you're probably looking at the
Yes,
special.
he did say he would prepare that, I apologize. Okay.
do we have a copy of that article?
Yeah, actually, I put it in the warrant just for, so you could
So it's already
find
in
it.
here?
It's in it, but
What number?
you actually vote to have to put it in. It's Article 6, the contingency, and then the ballot question, is Article 20.
All right, so it's already here under
6.
Article 6.
Thanks.
All right, let me read this article for you.
There it is.
Article 6 is to determine whether the town will appropriate and raise by taxation or transfer from available funds the additional sum of $1,241,141, $1,241,141 for paying the town's assessed share of the fiscal 2017 operating budget for the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District, provided, however, that the amounts raised and appropriated hereunder shall be expressly contingent upon the approval by the voters at an election of the so-called Proposition 2.5 override question in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 59, Section 21C, small g, of the general laws, or take any other action in relation thereto, proposed by the Board of Selectmen. What's that?
Go ahead, Bruce.
Explanation. The above appropriate funds for the following additional budgeted items, which were part of fiscal 2017 Whitman-Hanson Regional School Budget, which was approved and certified by a 10-0 vote of the Regional School Committee, including instructional staff, 8 positions, library, 5 positions, 2 social workers, 2 reading specialists, 2 math specialists, 2 foreign language instructors, 1 foreign language program coordinator, 1 art teacher, 1 music teacher, 1 wellness instructor, 1 fine arts instructor, 1 music director, and full-time, no-cost kindergarten program, professional development, improvements, safety and security resources, 1 safety and security position, 3 duty aides, 1 data specialist for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2016. This article also requires voter approval of a ballot question at the May 21st, 2016 annual town election. If so approved, the funds will be added to the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Budget. Okay. All right, so I need a motion and a second to include that in the annual town meeting warrant.
So moved. Second?
It's been moved and seconded to include Article 6, as I just read, in the May 2016 annual town meeting warrant. Any discussion? Any discussion at all? All those in favor? Yes.
I'm Chuck Hyatt from State Street. Now,
Yes.
that's gonna be on the ballot, right? That question, you know, with the,
If you approve this article, if this article is approved at town meeting, the appropriation that is approved at town meeting is contingent on the vote of a ballot question that will appear on the May 21st annual town election.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just making
That's
sure it's on the ballot.
that's basically to exempt those funds from the limitations of Proposition 2.5.
Yeah, so we'll be able to vote on it.
Yes. So even if it's approved at town meeting, it still has to undergo that second process and be approved by a ballot question
Like the school thing. will-
on May 21st. Yeah,
Okay.
right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that question. All right. All those in favor? Unanimous vote. Okay.
Well, it's really not like the school thing, because it's an override.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Could you state your
Iris
name?
Morway,
Yes?
406 High Street. It's not like the school thing, it's an override, it's not a debt exclusion.
Well, no, this is an override.
Right, well, this gentleman thinks it's like the school thing.
The school thing was a debt exclusion.
Right.
Debt exclusion is for
Goes away.
it's for a
Even if it takes 25 years.
debt exclusions are for a specific amount of time, which would have been 25 years, and then it would have ended and come off the tax levy. Overrides are, of course, forever.
Permanent.
Right.
Permanent. Permanent, yes. Overrides are permanent. Correct. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the ballot question has to be added to Article 26. So if you amend Article 26
Oh, yes, that's
to
true, too.
include the question 1,
Yes, because there is an Article 26, which is the election article.
correct.
So you have to add question 1. So I would need a motion to adjust Article 26 to add question 1, which is 1. Shall the town of Hanson be allowed to assess an additional $1,241,141 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of paying the town's assessed share of fiscal year 2017 operating budget of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2016. You can either vote yes, or you can vote no. That's the question. Okay. So I would need a motion and a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second to add that explanation to Article 26 of the Hanson May 2016 Annual Town Meeting warrant. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous vote. Okay, thank you. All right. That takes care of that, right? Do we have anything else?
The only thing I'd like to point out, Mr. Chairman, is that on Article number 11,
Article 11.
Capital improvements, yep.
having to do with the McQuon roof.
Yes.
That number that's in there is still preliminary until we get the report back from the architect, which supposedly is going to be tomorrow. So that number could change, but it can be amended at a future date.
Okay, yes. One school roof, yes.
So they did the cuts on Monday, Rich, yeah?
I'm told from Ernie, the facilities manager, that he's supposed to have the information to me tomorrow.
Great. Okay, they usually work pretty fast.
Yeah, Bob?
Yeah.
Want some sort of an explanation so that people
Oh,
understand.
yes, Mr. Hayes, please.
The roof at the McQuon School had an infrared testing done to determine the amount of leak that is in the gym. And it came up with a smaller amount than thought. So Gale Engineering, along with the roofing company, have gone up and they've cut pieces out of the roof to determine the exact makeup and material of the roof and see what remediation needs to be done up there. That's why the figure is preliminary at this time, till we determine what the material is that is up on the roof and how far it's going to go. Jim and I have had discussions, and Bruce and I have had discussions about maybe half, maybe the whole, what it is. Because as you know, there's a statement of interest regarding that, and I think that's coming up.
Yeah.
That's all in the fact of what part of that roof to do to stop it to leak, to figure out what we're gonna do with this building in the future. I think what everyone's discussed on this board and on the school board is we want to do the very cheapest repair possible that will adequately stop the roof from leaking so as not to spend taxpayer dollars on something that may go away in the future.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in agreement with that, whether it be the McQuon Indian Head Repair Committee the Board of Selectmen or the school committee. I think we're all in unison on that, and we're all
Yeah, I
together.
think we asked for, originally for like two different scenarios.
Exactly.
One to completely redo it, and the other one as a stopgap measure to at least keep the roof from leaking, that original town gravel roof for, say, the next 5 to 10 years or so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page with that, but we're just, that's why it's taking a little longer than maybe a normal process would. These couple of surprise snowstorms that we had didn't help when we had people figuring on being up on the roof, so that's sort of the fast explanation to that, so,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hayes.
thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, the
Yes.
board needs to make a motion to accept and sign the annual town meeting warrant.
Okay. We have a motion to
I mean,
accept
close
and
it
sign.
Excuse me, I'm
Yes.
sorry, we need to close the warrant first. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
closing
my
the
fault.
warrant. Yes, close the warrant.
I'll make a motion to close the warrant. I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to close the warrant for the annual town meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
So Rich, these other items on hold we'll take up on April 26th in detail?
Yes.
Now we need a motion to sign it, right? Sign both warrants?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to open the special?
Want to sign it annually first.
Yeah.
I
You want to sign both of them?
No, they have to be done
Just the
individually.
annual.
Just the
Or
annual.
just the annual? We'll start with the annual. We have a motion to sign the annual town warrant.
So moved.
It's
Second.
been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay? So I need a motion to sign the special town meeting warrant.
Motion to open up the
Want to
special.
hold on that, please, on one item?
You wanna open up the special?
You want to open it up again?
Yeah, we'd have to, I didn't know we had closed the special, yes, we do have to open.
I'll make a motion to open up the special town meeting warrant. Second.
Okay, motion and second to open the special town meeting warrant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, Mr.
Mr.
Scott.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the board remove Article 11 from the special town meeting, and that is the article that we have put forward to accept an additional 7 acres down at the light control property. And for the same reason, Hubble, the parent company, cannot sign any property over until all of their issues are completed down there, so they couldn't transfer ownership until sometime late this year. And we figured that should be, we are concerned, and that should be an item for the fall town meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second to remove Article 11
Yes.
from the special annual town meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Thank you. So I guess we need another motion to close this again.
I'll make a motion to close the special town meeting. I'll second.
Motion is second to close the special town meeting warrant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we need a motion to,
Close.
Sign
I
it.
make a
Sign.
motion to close the special town meeting.
Sign it, we already closed it.
Huh?
sign
Sign.
it.
Oh,
Sign.
sign.
Yeah, we just closed
I'll
it.
make a motion to sign the special town meeting warrant. I'll second it.
Motion is second to sign the special town meeting warrant. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So those are all ready to sign.
Just one other thing, Mr. Chairman, having to do with the warrants. I have the approved 6-year capital improvement plan that's been approved by the capital improvement committee, so I want to give the board,
Okay.
copies of this plan so they can have it and
So the
review it.
board will review those, and so the board can approve those at the next, we can put those on the agenda for the next meeting, Mary? And the board can,
Well, this is just the plan itself. The capital items are already included in the warrant.
Okay,
And then you can decide whether you want to, recommend those funding or not.
right. Okay. Very good. Anything else?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the discussion is the continuation of discussion regarding the Recreation Commission and Bluegrass on the Bogs Festival. To clear up some of the items that we talked about last week, is the Recreation Commission here? Members of the Recreation Commission are here, so I'll let, you want to start that, Rich?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that, you know, a lot of the concerns that I've had and the board has had, you know, about the running of the Bluegrass Festival, you know, is addressed and discussed, and that so everybody can be on the same page as to, you know, what needs to be addressed. And one of the things that, and the police chief is here and the fire chief is here, is to talk about issues having to do with police details and fire access. We actually, Dave and myself were at the Board of Health meeting this afternoon to talk about the issues, any issues that they had with the Board of Health. The insurance requirements, indemnification holding the town, you know, harmless. We want to talk about that insurance. I think one of the things that needs to be talked about is the parking and where the remote parking is going to be held, and so forth. So those are the primary issues that I had that I think we ought to talk about.
Okay, if you'd like to.
Mr. Chairman, if I could go first.
Oh, Mr. Hickey, yes.
My name's Jim Hickey, I'm on Perry Ave. I took the opportunity, and I will, I'm not gonna pretend I know how these meetings are supposed to run. I know we got off track last week, but it actually prompted me to go see the fire chief and the police chief on some of the stuff that was said last week. So my first visit was with the fire chief, and the chief and I talked for almost an hour. And I had asked him basically, would it be possible for him, if I gave him the dates of the last 3 years of Bluegrass on the Bogs, if he could go into his log and find out how many calls that they had to make to Camp Kawani during those 3 weekends. And he had no problem doing that for me. And the total calls that the fire department had made in the last 3 years was 0. We did get a chance, and I actually see both the fire and police chief here tonight, which is great, so that they'll be able to speak on it later on. I next went to talk to the police chief, and pretty much we talked for almost an hour, and I asked him the same question, if he could go into his log and find out how many calls the police were summoned to Camp Kawani on those 3 particular weekends. And his answer was the same, 0. So as far as the police and the fire, during the Bluegrass on the Bogs weekend, they had made no calls up there. And I mean, with them being here tonight, they can express any concerns that they have. But this is what I did last Thursday afternoon. As far as the taxpayers paying for this, in the last 3 years, the taxpayers have paid $0. Any of the caretaker and his staff, which totaled, I believe it was $1,248, would have come out of funds from the Recreation Commission. So I just wanted to add that before you know, you get into with Dave about any questions.
No, I appreciate that little historical overview that you gave us.
And you're working, Jim.
Yeah. Does the police chief or the fire chief have anything to address any issues with the Bluegrass on the Bogs, or any issues they have going forward with this?
No, I'd like to say that with any event that the fire department's concern is access, but they've been receptive ever since I've been the chief. Anytime there's any issues, anytime there's big events, we go up and we do a check with the caretaker. So some things have arisen about this event, but they were quickly taken care of as far as any permits for tenting or permits for storage of any propane. So anything that, I'll go up there the Friday of and do an inspection and make sure that it's within code. And then I will go through there a few times over the weekend, but we've had no issues. And any time that I've gone up there prior to the start of the event, or any event, and I've had any suggestions or any code issues that I wanted corrected, they comply.
Anybody else?
Well,
Oh, Chief Mix, yes.
Let's hide behind the counter there, sorry.
Oh, yes, I see you back there. Sorry, I didn't see you back there.
We're almost at capacity to the fire chief can count. Mr. Hickey did come see me the other day. I do have some concerns. One was access, which we've discussed. If they can come up with a plan as to how parking's gonna work. Some things came up new to me. As I said, there was no calls there. However, part of every patrol is to check the area. So when we ran the logs for the weekend, the only things in there were the 3 to 4 checks a day that happened. So the officers didn't report anything to me. Not to get off track and violate the open meeting law, have there been issues at other times? Yes, with other events. And that's things that I've met with over the past couple of years, a couple of times with the Rec Commission to try to address. Going forward, I think we really do need to address them more seriously, because what's come up recently is, how big is this event? In the past 3 years, I want to say I was given figures of between 300 and 600, but that was over 2 days, correct? David, if I'm wrong, please correct me. And now I'm getting figures of over 1,000. That kind of changes things. The way that, from a police standpoint, that I have to look at things is you look at every venue. What is the venue? What is the audience? And what are the factors that are in there? If there's alcohol involved, that really changes things. And again, we've had some discussions on alcohol consumption up there with a couple of incidents we've had over the years. So if they're gonna pull an alcohol permit, and there's gonna be more than a couple hundred people, like at a wedding, then we need to have a discussion as to what I'm gonna have up there for officers. So the problem is I can't have officers reacting to something. We need to prevent it. Some other things that could come up, security, if you got private security, but that's an issue too, is are they bonded, are they insured? So there's a number of issues that need to be worked out. I don't think they can be worked out tonight in this meeting. And then my other concern, as I mentioned before, was the access. So you need some type of plan as to in and out. Also, I didn't know about the campers until recently. There are RVs being brought in there. What about recreational vehicles like the golf carts and the ATVs? That could be an issue too. So I need to know that ahead of time to be able to accurately tell you, you need a detail officer, you don't need a detail officer, you need 4, you need 5. And again, what is the attendance gonna be? Does anybody know?
I can control that because I run the bogs. I'm Mike Foster, so I'm the perpetrator of this event.
Oh, yes. Good word.
Basically, we started it 3 years ago. We had about 350 people. And I want to begin by thanking the town of Hanson. I think we've spoken on the phone a couple of times.
Again, going back over the years, I was given figures of around 300.
Right, and
so.
last year I would say we probably hit maybe about 650. So what I need to do at this point is to coordinate. My idea was originally to try and set up a remote lot, which led to a whole new set of complications that I think I'd rather just avoid. The nice thing about this is I have complete control over the number of people that come. I pre-sell tickets online, and we can shut things down at any point, which is what we did last year. So in terms of the numbers, I can set the numbers.
Okay. Then we should have
I
a
have my
discussion
own
about that.
security team. A couple of the guys are here tonight. I'm insured, so I have a $1 million event policy, which I brought with me. And I'm happy to work with all of you and to continue to. They've been great at Kiwani helping us out. We've made it a point to keep the roads clear. It was one thing that was maintained from the beginning. We've done that. And try to make this a great event for the town. This year we have 22 bands coming in from 6 New England states and New York City. It's really the only type of event in the Bluegrass community in New England today. And we've been very fortunate to have it. We really appreciate it. It's a beautiful venue. It's a gem for the town. And we hope to keep it going and keep it small. So,
Mike, what about trash items? Is trash taken care of by you guys?
we can get carry in and carry out. I mean, the people that go, it's really a family festival. That's, I think, probably why you haven't heard anything, and we haven't had any problems. I have no tolerance for any nonsense. There's no alcohol, says it on the website, and that we maintain. And in terms of trash pickup, we've been pretty, vigilant. I try to go in and help clean the place up. This weekend is apparently cleanup day, so we're bringing some folks in to help you guys get things up and running. And when we leave, we do a trash cleanup and leave the place to get stand.
Yes, ma'am, could you stand and state your name?
Christine Briggs-Coos. There was alcohol last year. My only problem with this whole thing is last week when you kept saying how family-oriented it is. I went there with my 7 and my 8-year-old. We didn't stay long because of all the drinking that was going on. It is not family-oriented. If you want to go with a bunch of adults, it will be a blast. But you need to stop saying it's family-oriented because it's not for children. At least last year, it wasn't for children. It was the one and only time that I went. I went on Saturday night at 7 o'clock at night. We were out of there by 8:15 because of all the drinking up there. So there was alcohol. I saw it.
I don't know that, I personally have never seen it. I have not, did not see a container.
No solo cups. I mean, they were drinking up there, Dave. That's the problem I had last week when it kept getting stressed. This is family, family, family. It's not family. My 8-year-old, my 7-year-old, I don't want them up there. It's fine if I want to go with my husband and have some drinks and listen to the bands, but it's not for family.
Can we kind of keep it civil and tone down a little bit? We don't have to raise voices here to make a point, I don't think. And I'm here to control that type of stuff, and I will. Okay?
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Hi, I'm Brittany Servelt. I just want to say that just because it's a red Solo cup doesn't mean there's alcohol. I drink out of a red Solo cup all the time, and it's just at home or something. So, I understand that there's a song about it, but but it doesn't always mean that. I mean, unless you're smelling the cup, you don't know if it's alcohol or not alcohol.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Just to step in, and again, the issues in the few issues that we've had up there in the past have not been when an alcohol license has been issued, for example, for the weddings. It's either been after the event or one of the biggest problem ones that we had was the issue with Katie Did and the fact that no one was up there later at night. People were consuming alcohol unsupervised, and that came into a major problem for me. I know you can't control every person that walks into an event, but if there's alcohol being consumed up there, first of all, you can't have it if there's no license up there. If you're a private property doing it, you know what, maybe somebody turned their head a little bit, but this is, you're putting a liability on the taxpayers of the town with that. We can't have it. You have rules that say you can't have it. So if there's gonna be alcohol consumption up there, then we're really gonna have to talk about detail officers being up there. And the officers are gonna be instructed to enforce it.
I don't think that anybody has a problem with that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so there's not a problem with, you don't have a problem with that?
No.
Right, okay.
I mean, I just want to do it by the book.
Yeah, it's a point well taken.
I mean, I'm concerned too. It's my liability as well. And I think the only issue, we had somebody show up that was drunk, and they walked in and they were escorted out. I think that was all I
Call me, we give them free rides. And then I'd have an incident to tell you about. Who asked about the incident?
When somebody talks about there's drinking going on up there and people have problems with it, and so it was so bad they had to remove their kids, what comes to mind is you got a bunch of drunks up there walking around bothering people and accosting them and forcing people off the premises. I mean, that's the picture that you point.
No one
That's the picture that you pointed. You had to
They didn't
leave.
bother us, but it was clear that there were people drinking, Mr. Young.
Yes,
so
well,
that's why I removed my
There
children.
can be
but I wasn't
people
saying
drinking,
that
but they can
people
be
came up to me
civil,
bothered
and
me.
people drink everywhere, almost. but they're not,
But when
they're
you're
not
going to a
accosting people.
family event, you think it's okay to bring your children to
I know.
the restaurant.
Yeah, but you bring your kids into a restaurant where people are drinking at the bar. Do you take
I
them
don't
out
sit in the
because
bar.
people are drinking at the bar?
I don't sit in the bar with them.
Okay, well, I just don't understand what your point
I
is.
don't understand why you're sticking up for them.
What, sticking up for who?
Why it's okay to drink there. That's the problem.
Oh, please,
that I
please,
have.
please. No. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make sure we point out if the detail officers are required, that they have to pay for the details,
Right, yeah,
just so everybody knows
you
that.
realize that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll have to talk about that.
Okay.
Well, we don't, there's something to talk about, he's gonna have.
Chief Mix, is there a requirement after a certain number of people that there is a police detail regardless, or no?
No. Some communities require, I want to say the city of New Bedford, for every 250 people, they need at least one detail officer. You can't have one officer by themselves in a venue like that, you need at least two for safety reasons. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you look at the venue, the audience, and is alcohol served or not? Those are all, it's basically it's risk management. You
Right.
do a risk factor on each individual event is the best way to do it. 600 people, 2 officers would probably be fine in there. Again, we'd have to have a discussion about your private security. If they're trained, bonded, and insured, that can change things on how many detail officers you do too.
We won't serve, I'm not gonna serve alcohol. I
Well,
think what happens, people sneak it in, so.
But that's been, and like I said earlier,
He's saying-
we've had alcohol licenses up there for years, we haven't had problems. There's no alcohol license up there, people are drinking on their own, there's a problem. So,
I mean, that could happen at any wedding. You could have some kid,
It does.
you can,
it can
I
happen
mean, you can
anywhere.
have a kid say he's, 18-year-old kid say he's going out to the restroom, he goes out to his car, and he's got a jug out there, and he's, you know, how do you control that? You know? It happens.
The point is, we're trying to avoid that.
Right.
If you, and I'll give you an example of that, Mr. Young, not to drag this on, but if you go to Ritter's, every wedding over at Ritter's, they have a detail officer in
Yep.
plain clothes in the parking lot for that very reason, because Ritter's doesn't want to lose their alcohol license.
Right.
Here you got different, you're doing day license. So again, it's risk factors, and you look at the whole thing. If they're consuming alcohol, we have an issue up there. I've had a history of it, I don't want a problem or a tragedy up there.
I think we're all on the same page.
Right, okay, good. Anything else, Rich?
Yeah, I want to talk about the insurance. Mike Insurance Company, I guess it was Mike, that forwarded an insurance policy
Yeah,
that was
I have,
today, that just,
Festival insurance through, Downey Insurance.
okay, that just came in today, so it hasn't been there in the past, right?
Oh, I've had it every year.
No, but you haven't provided it to the town.
Oh, no, I think I showed it, did I show it to you
We've
guys?
always
Yeah, I think I showed it.
But it never was for the Camp Kawani in the town of Hanson. Never made out to the town of Hanson.
I can't speak that it was, no.
Okay. A couple of questions having to do with the insurance itself, and I reviewed the policy today, and I got an insurance company reviewing it. There is an extensive amount of exclusions, you know, in that insurance policy that concerns me. One of them has to do with liquor and people drinking. That if they did something and somebody get hurt, then the policy excludes that from anybody violent. That's a major issue as far as I'm concerned. The second issue that concerns me is that you're subletting the cabins out, okay? So you're renting them out at a certain price, and so you're actually responsible for those individuals in those cabins. Not those individuals, you are, personally, okay? And in that agreement, in that insurance policy, it talks about exclusions, that if somebody gets hurt, you know, inside one of those cabins or whatever, or falls on the property and so forth, and those particular facilities are not up to code, if there's issues in those facilities, the town is responsible for that. So I have a problem with that, you know, as well. I mean, those are just two
I'm sure that,
examples.
you know, we can tweak the policy to,
The other concern that I have having to do with the policy, that it excludes anything to do with assault and battery. So if somebody up there assaults somebody or gets into a fight or something like that, your insurance policy does not cover that, you know, as well. The other concern that I have has to do with abuse and molestation, if, God forbid, somebody, gets sexually assaulted or whatever, your insurance policy doesn't cover that, as well. I mean, those are just, I got it this afternoon, I mean, those are just the major issue, one of the major issues that I have. The other thing is that, based upon the rental agreement that was signed by you and provided by the Rec Commission, there's no indemnification holding you, the town, harmless of anything that happens on there. So there's a major concern from my standpoint as far as protecting the town, that if something happens, that somebody could turn around and, sue the town and so forth. And that also includes, defending. The insurance policy, once again, doesn't include, legal fees to defend anybody, yourself or whatever. So that's a major, major concern of mine, the protection of the town. So I would gladly, our insurance agent is reviewing it right now. She's supposed to get back to me tomorrow. And love to get together with you and, talk to you about it and see if we can resolve it. But these issues need to be addressed, and I
Believe it or not, my insurance man is also my banjo player, so, so it will, I know very, very well, and I'm sure he can.
This is a major concern to me.
Rich, quick question. So I thought Nicole last week read a section where there was some indemnification. I know the attorney said that he thought it needed to be tweaked, but there was some coverage. Is that true?
It was very, very weak.
Okay.
There was really no indemnification clause in those contracts that indemnified the town completely of any liability.
Okay.
But there was a clause in there that she read.
There was a clause, but it did not identify the indemnification for the town.
I may say it was our former town council that approved that contract.
Section?
Okay.
So
it's not something that we made, it was something that our...
I didn't say that, Dave.
No, I know.
All I'm saying is I've expressed my concern about it, I'm new here, and
No,
I
he
just...
said former. He did say former. So
nobody's talking blame. I'm trying to fix the problems. Let's
nobody-
fix it and see what we need to do to fix it.
So is our attorneys working on that?
Yes, they are.
All right.
Yeah.
So they should have,
Which means that...
indemnification is a pretty standard clause, right?
Not necessarily, not having to do with towns. It's a whole different animal having to do with towns and having to do with insurances and stuff like that.
Right, but it shouldn't be fairly new ground, Rich. It's pretty much already
because the town council does it for all of the
Those
towns
things
all
are
the
pretty
time.
boilerplate from town to town. They're usually the same language.
So, what we're probably gonna have to do, Mike, is, ask to sign something new and change that and make sure that the town is protected as well.
Do we have any idea of when our legal will have it done, or no?
Working on it right now, Jim.
That's, okay, so we don't have an idea of when they're gonna have it done? Okay.
Maybe tomorrow.
Are we gonna have it done so that are we thinking, the reason why I'm asking this, Rich, is are we thinking of re-signing the contract with this updated clause, or what?
When Mike and I sit down to review the insurance policies, then I'll have that new wording for him and we can take a look at it.
Okay.
Are there actual insurance companies that will insure against assault and batteries happening in the cabin in the woods someplace?
Well, that's what we need to look at. I gotta look.
I don't think so.
I don't think this is funny.
I have a feeling that there's some of those that they would never sign off on.
I just can't picture it.
So, Rich, we went over what the insurance policy didn't cover. Do we know what it does cover?
Sure,
I haven't
you got
seen
about
it.
an hour and a half?
No, but, can you give me some of the basics? I haven't seen it. We should
Well,
probably...
like I said, I just got it this afternoon. I just quickly looked at it and called our insurance company, and I will forward it to you so you can read it, as well. So, I don't know, what time was it, Mary? 5 o'clock, 4:30? I saw it to review it.
No, that's fair. Makes sense. You don't have that.
The other thing, the question on the parking now. Originally, the parking, you were talking about doing at the schools.
Yeah, my goal was, what my idea of what we had talked about at the meeting was, I'd like to, I don't really, it's just nice to get the bodies in. And I was hoping to have the Boy Scouts come in, set up the table, and then have someone there to handle parking, and then let the Boy Scouts take the money from the parking and keep that, so donate to them. It brings up a lot of complicated issues for me. Shuttling, have to arrange for a shuttle service. I don't know what we're gonna have in terms of people. If it rains, it's a washout, it's gonna cost me a bundle, and that'll probably be the end of the festival. I don't make any money off of this thing. In fact, last year I lost $700. But it's really, purpose of it is to bring the music to Hanson and to the people around here. I think it probably would be easier, and I spoke briefly about it with Nicole about possibly using the ball field down behind as additional parking. There's a parking lot down on the hill, is that right, Dave?
You mean the ball field?
Not the ball field itself, but the parking lot. Is there a parking lot that's adjacent to the ball field down there?
It's
No.
of the Batari field,
Yeah, that's the one behind there.
next to the old
Oh,
police station.
Oh,
That's used.
you mean
by the ball fields up by the school.
Oh, I was thinking, I thought there was a ball field actually on the backside of Kiwani.
Yeah, but I don't think you can get
There's
around it.
there's no parking.
No.
Yeah, I mean, parking's the problem. And it would be nice to, we maxed out last year. I was able to change the prices a little bit to cover, I'm actually paying more money to the bands this year. That's where all the money for the gate goes. I paid out $15,500 to the bands last year. So, which is why I came up short. So, we probably function with the parking as it is. It's tight. It would be nice to be able to coordinate it so that we can handle more people if they show up.
I know.
You should check with the lady from the Rainbow Camp, because your event is in May, and I don't think they open that camp until May.
That's a great idea.
Because they have that facility there, you can get maybe 50 to 100 cars in there.
That's all I need.
So if you check with the Rainbow Camp, you know the Rainbow Camp?
Yeah, I'm certainly aware. I don't know of any of the people there, but I'm sure we can find that out.
It's easy access, there's one driveway going in, there's one
Oh,
driveway
that would be
going out.
ideal. You
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
need
just walk
shuttle
around the corner and they're right
Yeah, I mean,
there.
ideally, if people could walk, that would be the best situation. My concern is cars coming in and out on 58, it's always been my concern. And if we can eliminate that would be ideal.
You can put 20 cars behind my house, but it's gonna cost you.
Actually, last year people charged, I said, that's fine. Go for it, make money.
I mean, that's gonna be the hardest thing, because it's not like a wedding where everybody's coming and going at the same time, right? You've got people coming and going all.
It's amazingly enough, there's really not that much traffic. People come in and they stay. Because we have food there, we have everything right there, people don't really want to leave, so. I know there's some additional issues with like, we bring porta potties in, and so we're doing that. I know that the septic system is, one of the bathhouses was down last year, so we can certainly, control the flow there.
Don't go there.
And we've been speaking with Board of Health, so
Yeah.
we've got that under control at this point too. So I think we've covered that. We'll be meeting with the Board of Health on the 10th, just to let them know exactly where we're at, but I think after today's meeting, we were, on the same page.
So I know, Rich, you said that you met with Board of Health with David today, right?
Yes.
Were there no major issues that came up from that, right? From that meeting, or no? I don't think you said what came out of it.
I'll let Dave answer that question.
Well, regarding the festival, we talked about many different things, but in regards to the festival itself, I explained to them what the facilities were, and that we have some issues with the south end septic system there, that's had issues. We'll have it pumped before the festival begins, and we have a new pumping lined up in case we needed them over the course of the weekend as well. We also have, Mike will be providing porta-johns. We also have the cove as well that we could use as a backup too, which I didn't think of today, Rich, but that is there. So, I think we have no issue with having things all covered with Board of Health.
Anything else, Rich?
I guess the only thing, I'd like to mention, I'm not gonna be here much longer, as everybody probably knows. But, I think it would make a lot of sense in the future that when you're planning this event, that everybody get together and discuss this event, because it's a major event here in town. It has a lot of issues, having to do with police and fire and septic systems and insurance policies and traffic and so forth. Instead of, getting to the point where, now we're all sitting here and, we're discussing it now. I think a lot more planning should be done, maybe even early fall, if you're gonna plan it the next year, to, to discuss what the issues are and resolve some of the issues before you get to this point, because we're only, a month away from the event at this point, and, you still gotta address the issues with the police department and so forth. The insurances, is an issue, and so I think a little more planning would be the best interest of everybody.
I know we sat down a couple of months ago, and probably would have been better if we had got the ball rolling then, but it's...
No, and I think it's gone so smooth for so many years that nobody's really brought up many concerns, so we really haven't had the urgency of it before.
Plus, I don't think we've had the benefit of an outside, like yourself, looking at it, Rich. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's always good to get especially a big event, to get the town administrator involved, whoever it's, a new town administrator involved, because one of his duties is to work, for us and other boards, but also to work between committees and public safety in order to coordinate things. So,
There's one thing I'd like
always
to
good
talk
to do
about, if we could. The contract signings, Rich, I looked at chapter 30B up and down, and I can't find where it says who's supposed to sign for the contracts.
Look at the annual town meeting of 1990 that approved 30B, and it gives the authority to the town administrator through the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, I've looked at 30B, it deals with procurement act, right? Mostly procurement
Yes.
laws, right? So, but there's a difference between procurement laws and signing rental agreements, correct?
We're looking at that.
Okay, because I'll tell you right now, the Hanson's
We're
general...
not really talking about that this evening, so.
Well, my point is that if we have legal looking into the
I heard you do.
indemnification, then I'd like to get some hard evidence in terms of what and who is supposed to sign for what. Because I'm reading, it says here from the Hanson General Bylaws, all elected boards, committees, commissions, and officers shall reorganize at their first meeting following the annual town elections. And all appointed boards, committees, and commissions shall organize each year. All departments, boards, committees, elected officers shall notify the town. It says here that, in addition, every department, board, committee, commission officer making or entering into any written contract for goods or services shall have said contract certified by the town accountant, indicating availability of the funds for the same, and furthermore shall file the contract with the town accountant before any payment is made thereon. So if I read that, and I know I read it quickly, but by reading this seems like it says to me that any board or committee or commission or officer making or entering into a written contract can do so.
False.
I agree with you, Rich, but my point is that I think, and again, I think it's so vague that we've been doing it this way, and that's why we've been doing it this way.
No,
So-
not necessarily, not at all.
Well,
Every single contract that comes through the Selectmen's office gets presented to the Board of Selectmen. I have presented to the Board of Selectmen for their approval, haven't I?
that's, for those that deal with the Board of Selectmen, yes, sir.
No, that would include any contracts. Well, I brought Board of Health contracts in
Okay.
front of you, I brought every contract in
Okay.
front of you.
I would ask that maybe you could ask Jay and point the section to me in the law that says it for a later
I
time.
gladly will. I mean,
what,
that's
on
not a
rental
problem.
agreements, or what?
No, with regard to rental agreements, right.
One of the issues, Jim, is that the town bylaws are completely out of date. And a lot of the general bylaws don't apply anymore with state statute. They need to be completely rewritten. I was not gonna undertake that project while I was here, because I have too much more important things.
No, it's a good thing to leave
do.
on for the next guy.
But
Absolutely.
there's so many bylaws, general bylaws, and there should be deleted, that don't apply at all.
Okay.
Because when 30B came in and so forth and so on, that's just one example. There's tons of them in these general bylaws that don't apply.
I think they added that under section 10, because if I read section 10 of the bylaws that pertain to committees, commissions, and all public bodies of the town, it basically says, all procurement, it says, all procurement of supplies and services shall be undertaken in accordance with the provisions of general laws, section 30B. Okay, so they add...
It's right there, and it's actually in the bylaw.
Yeah, they added that at the end.
Yeah, you didn't give this to me prior to the meeting, so it's...
General laws, chapter 149, section 44A through 44K, and general laws, chapter 30, section 39M, and general laws, chapter 7, section 38A and a half through 38O, which coincidentally, I looked them up, and they've been repealed, so those don't even exist anymore. So they may be amended from time to time, or any other applicable general law. What I found about this is procurement is identified as supplies and services. So it's not identified as rental agreements. I mean, if it was, you'd have to have you sign the rental agreements for across the street at the Thomas Hall.
It's fine.
I mean, at
They should
Thomas
be.
Mill. You know?
They should be
I think
signed.
the point is, David, is
They
that
should be provided, put in the town accountant's office.
if you can make it a point that your board, that the rec board finds out exactly who has the right authority to do that.
The
Press
I
our attorneys.
thought, again, back to prior town council, that's why our rental agreements went before them to make sure that we were concrete and that there were no questions.
But all copies of those rental agreements get sent to the,
Oh, sure.
over to the town. A copy of those all
the
go
town
to the town
administrator.
administrator.
Yes.
Do they go through the town administrator, the town accountant? Who do they go through?
They go to the town administrator.
Who do they go to, Nicole? Who do you
I
send
never
those
seen
to?
any rental agreements.
What contracts are you?
The rental agreements. Rent a cabin,
agreements for
rent
the
agreement,
events?
rent a lodge, rent anything. Where's it go?
They're in the office.
Where do they go?
At Camp Colony, they're in the office.
But you must send a copy over here.
No, so hold on. 'cause-
So see, no, wait a minute. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because internal control is a system of checks and balances. When you get a check in, okay, for a rental agreement, or anybody who's been in accounting or finance or anything knows. Yes, but there should be a copy of the contract. There should be, the check should be stapled to the contract, all right? There should be a restrictive endorsement stamp that stamps the back of that check so that nobody can take it if they get a hold of it. And these are all internal controls. They should come over to the town hall, and if they come over to the town hall and there's a rental agreement, and it states the rate on there, somebody should cross-check that rate to the rates that are in existence, and if there's a difference, they should call you and find out why there's a difference. And if that had taken place, and all these checks and balances had been in place, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about now never would have happened. Never would have happened. It would have eliminated half the things in this audit report. And I just don't understand it, because as somebody who's been in accounting and finance for 34 years, it's a system of checks, double checks, internal control balances, and those things would never have taken place.
The turnovers go to the town accountant's office. They have a copy and record of every monetary item that has gone through that office.
They do, but if they don't have a copy of the contract, how are they going to check if the rates?
They have a list of the events.
But do they have a
They don't have
copy?
the physical contract.
But if they don't have the rental rates to check back to make sure that the rental rates that are being charged on that particular contract and are being included in that check, then where's the checks and balances that the right rates are being charged?
I agree.
Okay, so I think the point, I'm reading the Rex policies and procedures, Dave, and if we can look into maybe that, maybe we can get this published on the website, obviously, but maybe you guys want to review it to see what changes need to be made based on what Bruce and Nicole is suggesting there on that.
But no, I think every event the contract should go up to the town accountant's office.
Well, Nicole,
Everything, even
it says
across the
here that
street
notice
here
of
at,
any change to a structured fee
Thomas
shall be
Hill.
given to the town administrator immediately after it's voted upon.
Right.
So you send that to him.
Yes.
So you sent him saying, hey, the fee's changed from this to
Yeah, but
this.
what we're saying, I think at this point, is that every contract should go up to the town accountant's
Right,
office.
but my point is that the word contract isn't in here. We need to have that in there so that the people who pick up the stick after us know, right?
Can I ask a question in regards to those policies and procedures that you have them in your hand?
Yes.
And it doesn't seem to be being addressed here, is there is no RV spots at Camp Kawani, but Mr. Foster is selling and renting out phantom RV spots at Camp Kawani for this event. So in our policies and procedures, it clearly states that no RV vehicles are allowed on property. So why are we allowing RVs to park on the property during this event?
I can address that. I
Where are
think.
we putting them? Where's the, you know?
Basically, in regards to placement, we're leaving it up to Bluegrass on the Bog to, they're handling the event and they're putting people where they're supposed to be.
So they can
The reason,
override.
the reason that we do not allow it at the camp normally is that we don't have the staff to maintain or deal with that. Bluegrass on the Bog has staff on hand that can handle that. You know, as you all know, we have a small amount of part-time caretakers that if we had a regular policy of allowing RVs, it would be a disaster. But because we have an event there that they are in control and can handle it, that's the only reason why.
So because they're in charge of their own security, that we can go against the policies and procedures and we can put RVs up there, even though it could be in violation of parking violation, it could be a safety issue. I'm assuming that's why that's in the policies and procedures.
The only reason it's in the policies and procedures is we haven't had a mechanism to deal with it as the rec commission and its caretaking.
So
staff.
Bluegrass can deal
It's
with
not a safety issue.
Let's not be talking back and
trying to
forth
get
here.
clarity, that's all.
Everything should come through the chair. We don't want to have conversations going back and forth. Laura?
So to the point of, you know, first of all, I think Nicole inherited whatever that process was about not giving the contracts, not giving the checks, whatever. But she's clear now what's got to be done. And I thought, when I was listening to the audit findings last week, that the auditor was fairly clear about what he thought or she thought the process should be going forward, which was that the town accountant or the TA or Board of Selectmen or whomever, but somebody up at Town Hall, separate and aside from Recreation, was going to look at any changes, modifications to those contracts and approve them. I thought that's what I heard last week.
Is that what it says in there?
All it said that I saw on it was, we noted multiple instances in which groups paid a reduced cost which was not authorized in accordance with established policies and procedures, which we just found out that this was, because they said they sent it on. We recommend that a secondary review of all contents, of all contracts signed by the camp to ensure that the contracts conform to established policies and procedures of the Recreation Commission. That's
I
what it
thought I
says.
heard Rich say last week, I don't know, Rich, I thought you had said that somebody was recommending that it be signed by another party after that. Like, they do their initial approval saying, yes, as the Recreation Commission, we approve whatever, and then it gets shipped up to town hall.
I made an issue out of the fact that there's only one signature on it. You know, the signature of the person who agrees to it. There's no place for there was no place for a signature for somebody from the town, which it seemed very odd to me. Might seem odd to you too, doesn't it?
It does. It really makes all of the internal audit bells in my head go off.
Oh, yeah.
You know, again, no disrespect. I know people are following what was the current procedure, but we're moving forward to a different, you know,
right.
A different place.
And I think it was suggested, Laura, that the town administrator would sign it.
Yeah.
Which would make sense to me, but let's just get it written down, make sure that everybody's on the same page, and we all agree that that's the way to go with it, right?
Somebody else have a question?
I believe, Fran O'Kane, Katie Didlane, I believe that at a rec commission meeting, we did discuss the RV issue, and this was, I think last year was the first year that RVs were allowed, or 2 years ago? Yeah, but we had the discussion, so that was, you know, it wasn't something that Bluegrass and the Blogs just undertook that we were unaware of. We were aware of it, and we made that concerted, you know, discussion. I mean, I would have thought that, you know, I just wasn't aware of the problem. You know, but certainly hearing about problems, we're willing to address them. But I don't think there's anything that's actually been intentionally hidden from anyone. I think we gotta just...
The only item I think that refers to it is, I'm reading here, it says, no recreational vehicles are allowed on the premises. That would be constitute a recreational vehicle, right? RV?
Yeah, but
So that's a number 12 item. That's the item on the policies and procedures.
And it was discussed at a meeting, we thought that by voting on it, we were okay to...
And this was, this thing was, does this indicate the date that this was approved? On 5/18/15.
5/28.
5/28.
15. It was a revised one.
Revised.
It was approved by the Board of Selectmen and by the Commission.
Revised, voted on, and accepted by the Recreation Commission Department, Recreation Department, 2015. So, obviously, these need to be revised again to allow for those under certain circumstances. Yes,
has to be approved,
right,
or whatever by
whom?
By the Recreation Commission.
The process
Yeah.
includes.
right. So,
my recommendation was going to be, is that we form a subcommittee to review, all the policies and procedures having to do with Camp Kawani, and making sure that they're consistent with everybody. That would include the Board of Selectmen, the town accountant, the treasurer's office, and of course, members of the commission and the town administrator, because there's a lot of inconsistencies, not only with that, but with other policies and procedures that need to be followed, that include payroll processing and so forth. One of the other major issues has to do with procurement, and making sure that procurement is being followed, and also the management of projects. We've had 3 or 4 different instances right now that the men's room and the ladies' rooms, bathrooms were renovated.
Mr. Chairman? Excuse me, I
I'm
thought we were
sorry.
supposed to be talking
Oh,
strictly
you
about
want to talk,
Bluegrass on
you're
the
talking
box.
about policies and procedures. I didn't start the conversation.
Well, I'm going to try to end it.
Well, I'm going to end it right now. There was no permits taken out, and that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable.
Right, yeah, right.
Certainly sounds
We're
like it.
drifting.
Yeah, we can,
Oh, wait a minute, they started the conversation, I didn't. I was only talking about the Bluegrass thing. They were the ones that brought up having to
And now you
do...
keep talking about it, though.
No, they brought up procurement. 30B is procurement.
I was talking about Bluegrass contracts for HES.
But you were talking about 30B, you brought up the
Right.
bylaws and stuff like that. I mean,
To try to find out who signs the contracts for
okay,
HES.
which contracts?
The Bluegrass contract.
What
'Cause
about...
that's what we're talking about.
No, all contracts. You were talking about all contracts.
Hold on for a second.
Who
Let me
signed the
hold
Bluegrass
on,
contract?
please.
who did sign it?
Hold on, Mr. Young. We're talking about Bluegrass and the band. We've got this coming up, right? This function's coming up. We got to get it resolved this time. We're talking about changing the contract because you're going to add the indemnification into it, okay? And I see nothing in writing specific in terms of who's supposed to sign it. It is,
You were
Rich,
talking- you brought
I'm
up-
telling you right now, it is not physically clear
But
who's
you brought
supposed to
up
sign
the
it.
policies and procedures, and you were talking about the
Right,
policies
because I'm
and
looking to see
procedures.
if the rec department's policies and procedures talk about the signing of the contracts.
Wow.
It doesn't, and in my opinion, it should, and I just asked him if he could add it in there.
Jim, please.
Look it, Rich, I'm just as upset as you are, but let's be civil about it, okay?
I've sat here and listened to everybody.
Well, then don't tell me that we're in open meeting violation.
We
We're
were in
talking
the
about,
open meeting violation.
we're talking
What's
about
on
the
the
contracts at
agenda?
Bluegrass.
Jeez, I didn't say it.
I do have one thing I'd like to ask, okay? No, what bothers me is, it was stated here that state statutes versus our bylaws, the town of Hanson bylaws, are not in sync. Who's supposed to check those? Because state statutes tell me that it's probably gonna be a lawyer or something, is that correct? Because we
Well-
just did a review of our bylaws, too.
No, we
didn't
didn't. Not the general bylaws. We didn't do a review of the general bylaws. There's a difference between general bylaws and zoning bylaws.
We didn't do just zoning bylaws. We were where you were the chairman of the bylaw committee, right?
That
We
was
reviewed-
wage and personnel.
Wage and personnel.
That's just one portion of the bylaws.
Right, but the changes that I gave you, Mary, did have all the bylaws, right?
No, that's what only changes to
Remember the yellow highlights that I gave you?
Yeah, but that was just a wage and personnel
Was it just,
bylaw.
okay, then, the question, all right, then I stand corrected. Who is supposed to check those, the difference between those?
Who? Well,
Yes.
the Board of Selectmen could start reviewing them to see what the issues are, I can
So
tell you
you
that.
suggest that we go against state statutes to the general
I'm
bylaws?
saying that somebody's gotta review them, and there's
And
inconsistency.
I'm asking you who it is, sir.
Well, form a committee to do it then.
That usually, the last time that happened, there was a committee formed to review the general bylaws, to bring them in sync, delete some, bring some up to date in accordance with state statute. That happens like every 10 or 15 years.
So who's supposed to check it? That's my question.
Tell me who's supposed to check it, and who you want to check it.
I thought it might be the attorney.
Well, the attorney's gonna look at what the bylaws are being proposed.
And did they
Okay.
find out what's in conflict with state statute?
Of course they do.
Okay, so then that's my answer, the attorney. Thank you.
You got months' worth of work here, just so you know.
I thank you for that, I appreciate it, but my question was who, and I've got the answer, thanks.
Okay. Mr. McLeod, this will be the last on the Bluegrass and the Bogs, and then we'll move on. We're gonna move on to something else. I think this is, yes, go ahead.
To the town administrator, you said the men's room was remodeled and no permits were taken?
That's correct.
I'm the electrician, and I pulled a permit.
Yeah, after the fact.
No,
It was-
before I did any
wait a
work.
minute,
A week
wait a
before I
minute,
did
Mike.
any work.
Mike, hold on a second. I went up there myself.
Please.
Because I had to check something with Nicole. And I went in the men's room, and the bathroom was totally gutted, and all new plumbing put in. There was also electrical that was being exposed. I had the building inspector come up and review it as well with me. And then he addressed it, with the plumbing inspector, the plumber who was doing all the work, who hadn't taken out any permits. There was no other permits, walls were opened and so forth, and it needs to be done, and they weren't done.
Well, sir, that was done before I was there.
That is correct, Mike. That is correct. You took out a
You took out the
permit.
electrical permit.
Yes.
All right.
May, could we discuss this at another point?
I think so,
Because
yes.
do
I
have
think
things
we're
to say that
way off the
that
subject.
I cannot say at this meeting.
Way off the subject.
I have something on Bluegrass.
Last thing, this
Okay.
is definitely the last item.
So, one of the comments that the town administrator made at the April 5th meeting was the lack of money that Bluegrass brought into the Recreation Commission, and that we're in a business of making money. Recreation, unfortunately, does not make money. We've had a few different recreation events at Camp Kawani over the last few years that have brought in very little money. The spring play that we just had brought in $3,000. In the administrative assistance report on 3/24 stated that there are 43 weddings booked for 2006. Of those 43 weddings in 2006, 16,
yes.
at an average of $4,500 a wedding, the camp is bringing in $194,000 in revenue that should be used to subsidize for recreation. With that, there are 14 other functions booked for 2016, and I'm not sure if those include the recreation functions, but of all of those functions, there are 2 functions for recreation in 2016, which are the Bluegrass Festival and a family camping weekend that we're in the process of organizing. So out of all of those functions for the year, from April until October, 43 of them are for weddings that bring in a significant amount of money to subsidize recreation in the town.
Yes.
I'll answer that question, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
sure.
Town meeting approved an enterprise fund for the Recreation Committee for Camp Kawani. And it's not only revenue, there's expenses that need to be paid, as well for the facility. And if you look at all the salaries, all the staff, and everybody comes out of those items as well. So it's not all revenues coming in, it's both sides,
Oh, sure, that's paid.
So when you look at all the expenses and all the salaries associated with it, then it's pretty much break even, because the town is actually picking up Nicole's salary, which is $43,000 out of tax levy, which is not being subsidized by the enterprise fund. So it's not a question of we're taking all this money in. You got both sides that to offset the cost and the revenues that are coming in.
But my point is that recreation is not a moneymaker. It never has been. I used to be on the Recreation Commission, and back when I was on the board, we had $10,000 in our revolving fund when we were just doing recreation. It's not a moneymaker. The weddings have been bringing in enough revenue to allow the camp to be self-sufficient, and they fund the caretakers, they fund everything up there aside from Nicole's salary.
Right, that's correct.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
But it's not making money, it's breaking even. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying is that,
I don't know how it's breaking even when they have 200 and
well, anytime you want to look at the budget, I can go over the budget with you and show that it's just about a break even.
I think some of the concerns that people had were, some of the points were,
We've got to
one thing, were, for example, on the rentals, the cabin rentals, okay? If we're renting them out for 20 and they're being rented out for 80, it didn't seem right. So, Mike, can you talk to that?
And I believe the rental house is 40.
Yeah.
Is it 40?
And I just heard it.
No, it's 80.
not, and it's 80 now for the
It's
weekend.
80.
Your website, it's
40 a night, though, for the.
No, it's $80 for an
80 for
RV
the
spot.
weekend, $40 a night, 80 for the weekend, 2 nights.
So it's the same price that we would use. Okay, because that didn't certainly.
Cabins are $80, it includes
We're going on to something
parking
else now.
spaces.
Thank you.
RVs are $80.
That concludes the discussion on Bluegrass Audiobooks.
Everybody
Let's
run.
go, Bruce, because they're all gonna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Committee handbook. The committee handbook.
You're out of line, Bruce. You were way out of line.
I'm out of
You
line?
were way out of line.
How am I out of line?
Come in and see me tomorrow morning, because I'm probably leaving tomorrow.
How the hell am I out of line? You like to tell me no?
Defending him,
Let's
defending,
do it right now.
defending him and saying that drinking is okay?
No, I didn't say
Yes,
that.
you did.
I never said that.
Did.
Never in the world did I say that.
Can't believe
Let's
it.
do it right now. Let's do it right
No, we're
now.
not gonna do it right now.
Bruce, let's take a
You're
short
not going to
recess.
accuse me. I'm taking the short recesses, right? Recess.
Yeah, goodbye.
Okay. I'd just like to report that the fourth annual Epic Youth Battle of the Bands that was supposed to be scheduled for April 15th at 6:30 PM in the Whitman Hanson Regional High School Performing Arts Center has been canceled until further notice. Correct. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We discussed the recreation regarding the Bluegrass Festival.
We knew that was going to be hard.
That was a lot of fun. Discussion regarding the board and committee handbook. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? I looked at it extensively. It looks very good. It covers all aspects of it being a member of a committee, commission, or board member in this town. And I think it's a great thing to have. That's the draft. Did anybody have any additions or corrections they would like to make to it?
The department heads are going to look at it tomorrow.
Department heads are going to look at it tomorrow.
Mary, much of the content in this is from the, it's from like the open meeting law, right? And some of it's
Correct.
from, so it's a culmination of different, is it MMA also, some of it too?
Yeah, the
I think
town
in
clerk
terms-
had worked on that, and she pulled up from a bunch of different components
Points.
to cover things, conflict of
Points.
interest, open meeting law.
The designation of what the chairman and the vice chair and the clerk should
Correct,
do.
the duties of the various officers.
Yep.
And within, some of the components came from our bylaws as well, you know, that you're supposed to reorganize after the elections and after the appointments of committees, things like that.
Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was wondering, once it's been approved by everybody, is there any thought, or would there ever be a thought of maybe Beth getting, I don't know, the chairs of various committees together, or like just an open session for people that wanted to attend? You know, I know there's the online ethics training, and of course, everybody can kind of read on their own, but I was just wondering if any thought had been given to kind of pulling people together and having Beth go over it in real plain language and kind of walk through examples and questions.
Steph and I had talked about that, having
Yeah.
committee chairs together. It's important that even the committee members understand
Yes.
what they need to do. They get appointed to the committees, they're just thrown into the committee, and nobody really knows exactly what
Yeah.
their duties are. So
Okay.
I'm sure she'd be willing to sit down and do that.
Okay, great.
It's well
I like the
together.
minute meeting guidelines too, Mary. I thought they were, it clearly states, it doesn't have to be verbatim. Minute meetings are supposed to be a summary and summation of what takes place in the meeting. So I'm for it. I think it's good. Do we put this on our website too? When we do?
Once it's all approved and everybody decides what they want, we can put it up on the website. And what she will end up doing is when people come to get sworn in for their various positions, always gives everybody a packet. That would be one of the things that they would receive.
Cool.
Okay. Is everybody happy with it? John, do you like it?
Yeah, it's fine.
John's happy with it? Jim,
Is
you
it something
okay
we
with
want to
it?
wait for input from department heads, or just move?
We might, yeah. We just
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to have a department head meeting, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you want to hold
We
up?
can put it
till
on
the
another,
Table it, Bruce?
table it for another.
Department heads have any concerns, and we're pretty much in approval of it.
I guess you'll be chairing that tomorrow, Mary.
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Update on the statement, here we are, yes. Update on the statements of interest. I have those here somewhere. I had them out before.
And I left 2 copies, they were quite lengthy, so I left 2 copies on the table upstairs for the board members if, but you had emailed them to the board members last week.
Yes. For some reason, do you have the copies of those?
I have
I
the
gave
middle
you a
school
couple of
ones.
copies. The middle school one is the one I was most concerned with, because we've been through the one for the McQuon School, which is basically, it probably hasn't changed much in the last 10 years, correct?
It'll need to be the condensed version of that 21-page document.
Oh, the one on the McQuon?
He has one
One was
paragraph.
40 pages.
You were gonna read Article 5, was it? Item 5?
I just wanted to read,
Item 5, I think it was. Bruce, I don't have that. No, I don't think, we don't have a copy of it.
oh, here it is.
Page 4. Next page, I think.
Why isn't this?
Oh, because of the one that you read, I think.
Oh, there it
was-
is.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, this is the main thrust of it here. It's the one on the middle school. The district has continued to use the McQuon School for Hanson. Hanson students for pre-kindergarten through grade 2. In spite of the ongoing problems with the facility, roof leaks have been patched, univent systems have been reworked and refurbished to address heating issues. Asbestos has been removed from the floor in the cafeteria, replaced 2 years ago. The heating system original to the McQuon School requires ongoing and expensive maintenance to keep it operational. The district also works with Hanson officials to address priority repair items at the McQuon School. In spite of these costly measures to mitigate building issues, the McQuon School needs to be replaced. The Hanson Middle School, built in 1998, was constructed to allow for an addition on the library side of the school. In addition, the school will provide learning spaces for the McQuon students. And then under priority 5, in addition to the Hanson Middle School to provide classrooms as a result of the closing of the McQuon School, will provide learning environments that support the district's educational program. Whether the addition expands grade levels or is an early childhood center for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten students with problems that exist in the McQuon School will be eliminated. At this time, the integrated pre-kindergarten program operated by the Special Education Department is located at the McQuon School, a facility that was not designed for preschool programs. The ADA accessibility issues exist throughout the building. The lack of bathroom access in classrooms creates lost time on learning, as students who can't access these bathrooms need to be escorted to the facilities in the common space of the building. The existing body door hardware is original and does not meet the present Massachusetts Architectural Access Board MAAB 521 CMR accessibility requirements. In addition, any significant renovation to the building will trigger requirement compliance with full ADA compliance, life safety concerns, and aging building electrical, fire alarm, and emergency power support systems create concerns for both staff and administration and the safety of all students. As a result of multiple issues that impact the educational programs in the McQuon School, the district is proposing an addition to the Hanson Middle School. Does that just about cover the main thrust of that?
Covers the whole crux.
Okay. So that was,
Layman's terms for the people that are listening, Bruce, it's a question of, you send these things in, these statements of interest, and it gets taken over by a board, a state board that has architecture, that has building people, that has principals, that has former superintendents, and they go over the whole plan, and then they come out and they'll take a peek at it too. But for anyone who's watching or talking about it, the idea is to possibly add on to Hanson Middle, and that might be a much lesser cost to the town, and maybe do away with the McQuon School totally, depending on what MSBA finds, because they're a partner in this, because obviously they're paying over 50%. So they'll come up with an educationally sound plan, what they think, and then all of us will review it and maybe go to the committee stage and see where we go from there. But obviously, the first leg of this journey is to get MSBA involved. And their involvement, as you know, what happened last year could take 6 to 8 months, and they could say, no, we're not interested in the project at this time. This is nothing etched in stone. There is no rumor of building a school or doing any above. This is just the beginning stages. This is way down the road, and that's why we talked about earlier this evening, fixing the McQuon roof.
Yep.
Because,
Could take a long time.
yeah, this could be 4 to 5 years down the road,
Sure.
and the roof can't continue to leak if we're gonna continue to have children and have in the building. I mean, Jim and I were there the other day, it was pouring rain, and not a drop of water was leaking. The day before, it was drizzling, there was a little snow on the roof, it was pouring in. So it's the weirdest thing, and that's why we had Gale Engineering, who, by the way, has been a great resource. They're wonderful to work with.
Right.
Mr. Stewart, Ed Stewart, I think, and the other young man. And so that's why we're moving forward, trying to keep the very cost to where we're gonna be. It's the long and the short of it, so
Yeah.
that's pretty much the update on that, and we thank you for your patience and working with us on that to try and solve something that's a very difficult issue without starting something that's a more difficult issue. So again, we thank you for your expertise in that, hoping we can work together in the future to continue on. Seems like the Indian Head roof went pretty good by us working
It went
together, so.
fantastic. A mutually cooperative effort that was wonderful in all respects.
So Bob, what's the next, from what you just said, the next step, we should hear from them in what,
We should hear
18
from
months?
MSBA.
6 to 8 months?
I would say probably midsummer, Jim.
Okay.
But again, we're dealing with a group, I don't know how many building projects they have in this queue to tell you, if they have a ton, it'll probably take longer.
Yeah.
If they don't have a ton, it'll probably be a quicker explanation from them, but it's in their hands. But we're talking years down the road for anybody that's listening. This is nothing that's going to affect any tax base on an immediate thing. You're talking 5 years away.
Laura?
So, it's awesome that we're moving forward on that, but I'm, something in my head that I was wondering about is what happens to the existing McQuon building, which we've said is not fit for, these guys to be in at that point in the future. Does the MSBA contemplate helping us pay for tearing that down?
Yes.
It does, okay, awesome, and is that part of this, what we've put
Yes.
in? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I mean,
And
the
it
people who
also-
study that issue, you may decide, I'm just throwing this out, that somebody may want to repurpose that building
Yes,
for another, because it's a structurally sound building. You've got every single major system in that building needs to be replaced, as you know. I mean,
I know, but Whitman felt the same way about Park Street, and look where that is, that's
Yeah.
been sitting there for.
it's just sitting there and it's,
Yeah. Rotting away.
So, I mean, if somebody like an institution like the North River Collaborative or something wants to sign a long-term lease with if the town wants to take it over, sign a long-term lease with something like that, in mind, I mean, that's a possibility.
Oh, the
Who knows?
door is open, Bruce,
Yeah.
always, because
So,
MSBA'd rather see the town
of course, yeah.
not cost 52 or 3 or 4% to them to tear that structure down. It's strictly, it's
But if
town.
we go that way, we're
Yeah,
not on
You
our
go
own.
there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
always a
It's
possibility,
presented
and it's a
both
remote
ways.
possibility, but it's always a possibility.
Yeah, definitely is gonna
Yeah.
come both ways.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that takes care of that issue.
Thank you.
Discussion regarding the High Street radio tower. Yes. Gentlemen,
Took a while.
so Mr. Vess, yes.
Good
Mr.
evening to the
Mr.
board.
Vess, yes.
The discussion goes like this. Last year, we got together and discussed the possible use of the Plymouth County Tower. Now, the Plymouth County Tower is a freestanding, a guide structure on Plymouth County land, which has pretty much been in the current state that it's in for over 40 years. So we discussed two options. The first option was to allow on a yearly basis by vote of the Board of Selectmen permission to utilize the structure for the purpose of public accessed repeater antennas for amateur radio use and also emergency communications for the town of Hanson. So both of these uses do serve the public. And they're nonprofit, obviously. Hanson Emergency Communications is a volunteer effort to provide tertiary communications for the town. And in addition to that, the Whitman Amateur Radio Club is a nonprofit organization that promotes amateur radio communications. So we needed a low-cost, low-impact solution to provide a mount for antennas that would be used in this capacity. The first option, as stated earlier, was to go on a year-to-year permission. I'm not sure what the wording is for that. The second option was to go for a 20-year lease. After much conversation between members of the board and myself and my amateur radio club, it was felt that the second option, the 20-year signed lease for $1 or $5, whatever the board feels necessary, would be the option to go. In addition to that, it's proven to be the only option to go because we need the protection of a 20-year lease in order to make any efforts that we have as far as improvement of the site, improvement of the electronics on site, and providing additional security for the site. So to that end, it was recommended to me that in order to obtain a 20-year lease, we go forward with an RFP, request proposal, to go out there in the real world, in the antenna world, and see if there was anybody who had any use for that tower, whether it was to make money or what have you. So myself looked at this particular request for proposal, and my discovery was that in no way could the Whitman Amateur Radio Club complete this document as it had a number of stipulations that involved engineering fees, commercial general liability, just for the proposal, to answer the proposal, submission requirements, plans, photos, outlines, all of which requires an inordinate amount of money to participate in this request for proposal. So in addition to that, I was led to believe that this process of the proposal was separate from the end result. The end result being, if nobody came forward and says, we'll give you $1 million to put an antenna up there, that clearly did not happen. As we discussed earlier at great length, that the structure is not suitable for anything on a commercial basis. So us thinking that the road was pretty much clear to move ahead with a 20-year lease, I've come before you tonight. Now, I've also been in discussion with some board members, and it was felt that perhaps we should revert to option 1, which would be the annual renewal of permission to use the antenna. That, again, is not suitable. So I'd like the board to understand that going forward, I would like them to understand that in no way could we complete most of this request for proposal. However, there were some agreements that I would have loved to have gone on record and actually have as of last year. Tower site and upgrades, highly advantageous. Please, excuse me. Proposal includes repairs to tower and upgrades to antennas, installation of fence premises, installation of video surveillance. Now that's in the highly advanced under item 6, item 1, line 1. Line 2, co-location of emergency communications equipment. We're accommodating and will be assisting in the install of Hanson Communications emergency communications equipment. Flexibility of the lease of the turn. Highly advantage, and we fall into that category as well, in that, you know, the property gets developed, obviously we can't be there, because at that point the tower becomes a liability. Now, there's one more item to this that was not discussed. Fact is I do not believe there is any insurance whatsoever on that structure other than the policy that was held by Plymouth County, which ceased payment 20 years ago. So we have a structure that literally remains in its state from 40 years ago, that when Plymouth County left, they just left. There was no maintenance done on the tower. We're going to take up that responsibility of looking at the tower, looking at some sort of liability coverage, and then finally, we would indemnify the town of any liability. So it basically doesn't cost the town a dime, except for any legal research that they feel may be necessary to allow this. So it's a community effort. It's going to be a betterment for the property. It's going to be for the betterment of two important nonprofit organizations that are radio-based. And at this time, I would end my talk, and I would ask the board for a motion to move forward with the lease of this structure for the next 20 years, knowing the advantages of having caretakers of that structure. And I'll take any questions that anybody wishes.
I'm not sure we're ready to do that yet, though, because we would need to see what your proposal is to secure.
You have my proposal. As a
I
matter
mean,
of fact, I've given you.
In other words, we would need to see what kind of liability, we'd have to study the liability clause, we'd have to study what kind of insurance you can provide.
Here's what I recommend, Mr. Chairman. Here's what I recommend.
Just saying, we have to protect the town's interests.
I get that.
You understand
okay?
that, right?
The best
You
way to kill a
understand that.
good community project is to introduce the government. All right?
Well, no, wait, hold on a second. The town has to be protected.
I get that.
One
I
way or
get
the other, Mark, the town has to be protected. If we leave you over there,
Yes.
and we have no liability insurance, holding the town harmless for anything or anybody that gets hurt over there, then we're leaving the town wide open.
We will answer those questions before we begin operation. Now, what I'm actually recommending is a two-part series here. Part one is to investigate, for us to be allowed to investigate whether or not we can use the antenna. Secondly, we would like to send up a drone to look at the tower and see what the condition of the tower is. We would like to take the responsibility of ascertaining, A, whether we can use the tower, and B, whether or not there are engineering concerns with the tower. Those two things need to be answered first. In order to do that, I would like us to move forward with the lease. I'd like to see this board, somebody come forward with a motion to allow us to move forward with the lease.
Can't do that yet.
Pending the completion of any any studies that we feel that may be needed. Now, you know, Bruce, that we are eminently qualified to judge that antenna engineering-wise.
I know that.
Okay? You also know that we are interested in upgrading the structure. So from the insurance company standpoint,
That's all good.
right now, you
That's
have a
all good.
liability.
That's all good, yeah.
Right now, you actually have a liability. When we are done with our insurance and the indemnification, you will not have the liability. We are going to take that liability away from the town of Hanson, is what we're going to do.
You make this sound like a proposal that's just a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer.
I understand that.
Bruce.
You make it sound really, really good, I know that.
I'll be quite frank with you. This is good for the town, it's good for the community.
Mr. Vest, I support your project. However, I'm not ready to make a decision tonight. We're not ready. We need to talk to our council and certainly talk to, our town administrator. But I'm in support of the project. However, there's a couple of I's and a couple of T's that need to be crossed and dotted before I'm ready to make a decision.
All right.
That's just me.
The new one or the old one?
Thank you.
Don't go there.
Thank you, Kenny, I appreciate that, I really do.
But I do support it. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's been over 6 months since we started this work. We had hoped to be able to start work on the tower, and we were very naive before the snow fell. Well, as we all know, that first of all, it didn't snow that much, and secondly, now we're over 6 months. So I'd like to see if I can at least walk away with a timeline, or a consensus vote, I'd love to walk away with something that would encourage this project to
You're
move
closer
forward.
to the end than you are the beginning.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
All right?
That's very good.
So as you know, Mr. Vest, it all sounds very, very good, but we can't, you understand, we can't just go forward and act tonight on this. You have to understand.
Okay, I was under the mistaken,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
mistaken that I thought we could. So what would you think would the steps be towards gaining access to the structure?
I could answer maybe some of that.
Please, go right ahead.
First thing I think what we should probably do, Mark, is take a list of the RFP items that you feel that you could not meet. If you could bullet.
Oh, boy,
if you
I
could-
have those
If
already
you could
done. I can
bullet, you
submit
do,
those
so that's
tonight.
fine. List those bullet items, because
Okay.
that's something that we're gonna have to have a legal review to make sure that we're covered.
Okay.
Obviously, because I know your proposal says here, we believe that the current tower is insured under the town's insurance policy, but it has to be further explored. So you indicated that here on your proposal.
And I was mistaken.
Okay, so we still need to check anyways, right? Okay? I think that would probably be the first step, but I do think it's important for these guys to figure out, is the tower usable too, right? Because if it's not usable, why are we RFPing it, guys? If it's not usable, so
Excellent point,
can they
Mr.
still
McGee.
figure out if, can they still do something to find out if it is usable? Because if it isn't usable, everything's dead,
Well,
right?
don't forget the RFP also included, the people who wanted, submitted the RFP, was gonna meet and go over there and
figure
examine
out?
the tower and figure out whether it was usable or not before they wanted to actually submit an RFP.
All right, but
Well,
can,
he mentioned the use of a drone
Yeah.
to check it out.
for the land, all right, for the top, that you can still do the pictures and stuff.
That's correct. The drone would move in close.
But can he do can he check to see if the tower is usable? Yes or no? Is there a
What
problem
do you
there?
have to do with that? Somebody has to
What does
climb
that
the
take?
tower?
There's two items that are entailed. One is looking at the antennas themselves electronically, and that is through the existing wires that come down from the antennas that are already there. We put an antenna analyzer on that. It's a couple of days of work to set everything up, a little tent, our equipment, and discover whether or not the antennas are still in serviceable condition. Chances are they may be because it's commercial equipment. The other thing we need to do is send up the drone, look at each and every cable end that is attached. The guy wires, that's correct, I'm sorry.
Well, there's one broken now.
There is one broken now.
Figure out where it's broken. Is it broken at the top or is it broken
I
at the
don't,
bottom?
I don't
No,
know.
it's broken at the bottom, but we need to find out if it was cut via vandalism
Yeah.
and requires a little bit more work, or if it was indeed unbolted, as these are bolted clamps that are used throughout the system. We can ascertain that.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't we find out if we need to do something before we allow you to do that, Mark, first? Because I think that's an important point, guys. If the tower's not usable, then
It's all a
what are
moot
we
point.
talking about, right?
We go away.
So we should find out first if it's okay if they can conduct these studies. Can you spell it out what you're gonna do, Mark?
You're gonna
Yes.
send a drone up to fly
I just
over the
did.
tower?
All right, but I mean in writing, too.
Oh, yes, I'd be happy to.
It's just the way I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, that's fine, I can do that.
Yeah, spell
Yeah.
out what you're gonna do, what it will take to examine that tower for us.
Basically, it's drone examination.
Yeah, I know.
And looking for typical wear and tear.
And cable check on the base.
Cable checks, stuff like that, and electronically testing the antennas and the cables that are involved. Now,
Do you own a drone?
no, but I
Yeah,
know somebody in the fire department that has one. Not you.
Kenny, didn't somebody's son use it for the roof, the pond roof?
Oh, no.
Yeah, somebody took some pictures of
I did
the
it
top
from
of
the
the pond
building.
roof
My guy
using a
that does my
drone.
And
field.
we actually had a drone, a friend of the family,
He did the,
put one up to give you the original shots of the antenna, so that you could actually see like a side view.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a high-resolution photograph. You still have it in your possession. Perhaps Mary still has it. That gives you, and I'll be glad to resend it, that actually allows you to look in fairly good resolution.
Okay.
But it's not enough resolution for close examination of the guy line structures.
Okay.
So, timetable, you'll have my document tomorrow, or Mary will have the document tomorrow for distribution to the board. And,
We should give us some time to get back to you in terms of when we can start
Okay.
maybe a couple of days, all right?
all right, that would be good.
All right?
That would be great.
Would that be okay with you guys, or
Yes.
no?
I I hate to walk away with nothing, but
You're about
Oh,
to.
you actually got something. You got something. You didn't get everything.
all right,
but-
thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
What's that old line from Casey at the Bat? Hope springs eternal in the human breast.
Yes, it does, right there. Thanks.
Mark,
Yes.
This is payment for,
there's a
It's
couple
something.
paper clips. No, you're not walking away with nothing.
That's a good one.
Oh, what do we use? We'll repair the guy wire with that.
And that completes the discussion of the High Street Radio Tower. That was a lot more fun than Bluegrass on the Bog. One more discussion like that one, and I'll sell my body to a medical institute.
Do we gotta do these separate, Bruce? Can we,
All at once.
we can do them all at once?
Yes, let's do the, want to do these
Okay,
all
do
at
you have
once?
to read
I'll read
Yes,
them. I have to
please.
read them.
Okay.
Tanya,
Except the one day.
one-day liquor licenses.
I'd like to make a motion to accept one-day liquor license as presented.
As written in the, anyone want to hear these, who they're for?
As
Or
written
can
in
we waive
today's
that and
agenda.
Just say, written in the agenda. Okay? You wanna-
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote, Mary.
Okay.
Committee reports, Monpont Pond Committee.
Yes, we did meet last week, and what's trying to be done is have the sluice gate opened up so it will lower the pond. Charlie, the administrator in Halifax, I don't know if they've got all the money to do an alum treatment, but they'd like to do one in May. For the simple reason, that's the time to do it.
What does the alum do?
It's to make the
Algae?
algae not come alive, I think. And, but to do it, it'd be better to treat the pond if we could lower the pond to the flow line of Stump Brook, because I don't think Brockton is taking any water at the moment, because Silver Lake is full, so that they don't have to take water. But they still have that Water Act that they got in 1964, that it should be looked at and updated, but they don't want to do it for the simple fact they get the water for nothing from West Monpont Pond, which goes into East Monpont, which goes into Silver Lake. So that they do have a Water Act that does extend them to, through May. And we'd like to get a earlier start, or they'd like to get an earlier start, because to treat the pond, it's best treated in the 1st of May. So that, I don't know if they've got any grant money or anything of that nature, but I told Charlie that Hanson does pay a portion of that, because Hanson property does border the northern side of West Lake. So Brockton still does not contribute any money towards trying to fix their water so they can take it. And the sorry part right now is we're buying water from Brockton because the tank is down and it's being painted. So that it makes it a little difficult to force people to do something because we're using their water. And if they start the desaltation plant, they're gonna tack on money to us to use the water, which they've got us in a bind right here at the moment. And hopefully the tank is gonna be done May, maybe the middle of June or so forth, somewhere in that vicinity. And while I'm talking about the tank, I think in the water bills that'll be coming out, there'll be a little colored paper note. It hasn't been written up yet. But a lot of problems have arisen over the last weekend. We had a major water break. And people are confused about how to get the water out of the dark-colored water out of the system. In the first place, if there is a dark water in your house, don't run it in the house and try to get rid of it. Please, all the residents in Hanson, if you have dark water, and you can find out by calling the water department what streets and so forth they're working on, use an outside sill caulk on your house to drain the water off, closest to where the line comes into the house. And therefore, it doesn't get all through the house. It stays out of the tanks and the toilet bowls and the tanks that hold the water. A lot of the people, they were running everything in the house, and that's the wrong way to do it. So I'm trying to get to the next meeting, we'll have that drafted up so that when you get your tax bills, the water bills, there'll be instructions in there how to do it so that you don't get the house completely covered with, well, some people say it's black water. There was a gallon of water given to me, and it was as black as this phone. I let it sit on a desk at the water department up there for a week. Actually, the second day, it was pretty clear. But at the end of the week, there was just traces of the I don't know whether, it's manganese and iron, basically. But it was so fine that it completely blackened the gallon jug. But after it set for a week, the water was completely clear. And it didn't even cover the bottom of the bottle, of the little bottle. It was just a little bit in the crevices in the bottom of the plastic bottles. So it shows that it takes a minute amount of the discoloration to color the water. So as of tonight, I haven't heard, but I talked with them up there this afternoon, and they were letting, the only place that was any discoloration was on High Street. But it was almost clear, and they still had 3 hoses, 3 hydrants open and running. And the man that's on duty was gonna come in at 8 o'clock, and if they were he was gonna shut them down when he took a glass of water and put them in. So I think right at this point, the town of Hanson, the water is clear again. So, I'd have to say I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. The water main blew up, and it wasn't found for, we figure for 3 hours anyway, the water ran without being noticed. And it dropped the pressure down so low that people on High Street and the Whitman end of Whitman Street didn't have any water. That's how low the pressure was. So,
We're not blaming you, right, Don?
well, I'd more or less take the blame. Part
Don't
of
be
it being
taking the
a-
blame. It's not your fault.
Well, I'm a water commissioner, and things like this shouldn't happen, but God forbid it happens again because the tank's empty and we have no control over it. So
That's cool.
I just hope that residents will bear with it, and hopefully by the end of June, we'll be back on our own water. So I'll end it there.
And it was like a double whammy because you had the water tank shut down. So if you have a water main break,
Right.
you lose all that.
Well, it wasn't discovered,
Yeah,
we estimate at least 3 hours it was running full bore out of a 6-inch water main. And that moves a lot of water through the pipes in Hanson, especially when it's coming in up on West Washington Street where the water department building is. So that flow of water running through the pipes was just taking all the sediment inside of it and just moving it all through town. And if we could shut it off within a half an hour, you wouldn't have got as much, problems with it. But we faced it and took care of it, and hopefully that all the citizens are happy now if they got clean water. All right?
thanks,
Don.
Very good.
Mine was clean.
Yeah.
I'm on a dead-end street. It makes a big difference.
Right.
Is that why? Because mine was clean too.
Was it?
Yep, I'm on a dead-end street.
I'm not on a dead end, right?
Really?
I haven't had any problems with any of the other times that people have complained about.
Oh.
Well, some people did and some people didn't. It's just that, it's the way, if you have a part of town that's using more water than another section of town, the water's gonna move to the place where the water's being used. So depending upon where the sediment is in the pipes, mostly you get them, I found by working with Jack Hoadley on waterworks all over New England, I find that where you have a small brook or river or anything, where the pipe goes down and under, if you don't have a continuous movement of water, the manganese and iron collect in these divots, these little pockets in any lowlands, so that when you have a large flow of water, it takes it right out and distributes it through the system. So luckily, there wasn't a high flow up in the north end of Hanson where I live, because I didn't get any problem. So everything's a science. And I'm not an engineer or an engineer or anything of that, but.
Okay. Thanks again, Dawn.
Indian Head repair.
Yes, Indian Head, McQuon. We met last week. All we did was review the articles on the warrant that pertain to any repairs and renovations at the Indian Head and the McQuon schools. And we recommended all of them and we left one on hold, that being the McQuon School roof, which we're still waiting on the final figures for that. And we'll review that prior to town meeting. So that's my report, my brief report on that. And then I would turn to Mr. Scott for the Highway Building Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we had a meeting last week, and we were kind of disappointed that we weren't going to be ready for this particular town meeting coming up. But I think in the best interest of moving forward, we made the decision to recommend to the board to take those warrant articles off. And we're going to start meeting again after town meeting, see if we can get this thing going. That's all I have for now.
Thanks.
So did they come back with a number, Bill, on the Highway Building Committee? I know that we took it off the warrant because of the land issue, right? They couldn't donate it to us until the end of the year? But did they ever come up with it? Do we have an approximate number? A lot of people have been yelping on
No,
that.
we don't have a final approximate number yet. We were hoping to get one, but we're still working on it. Just wasn't enough time, Jim.
All right.
Okay. Final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee.
We have another meeting tomorrow night at 4 o'clock at the police station, if anybody would like to come up. But we have roughly 3 different proposals that we'll be presenting to the selectmen, hopefully.
Sorry to steal you.
Maybe next week. If not next week, the week following.
Sure, sounds great. Okay. And that brings us right up to adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn.
Did I hear a second?
Is there
I
any,
think I heard a couple of
is there any
seconds.
further discussion? You
I
sure you
don't
want
think
to
we
do
have anything
this?
else to discuss.
Okay,
I'm sure.
that's a good thing. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, folks.